Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining my LinkedIn Live event, where today we're going to talk about 4 strategies to mitigate high cost claimants. Okay. For a self funded plan, um, it's they're real strategic. It's not putting in wellness, it's not putting in something from musculoskeletal that you hope will give dividends down the line. But this is for any C suite executive that's involved in steering that benefit program with 50 or more full time eligible employees. Okay. Whether you're self funded or you're thinking about self funded, this is for you. I'm hoping you get some value out of this. The 4 strategies we're going to talk about are the Affordable Care Plan, the Medical Reimbursement Program, Maxi Plan 1 and Maxi 2. Maxi Plan 1 was so good, they came out with a second one. So, anyway, if you're, again, these strategies can materially change the financial performance of your company when you put these in for the right company. So, I'm hoping you get a lot out of this. But with that, I want to start with reality. And that is, probably the biggest challenge to a self-funded program are large catastrophic claims. All right. You don't know when they're going to come up. You don't know why they come up. Certainly disruptive to the group plan. It's disruptive to that member. They're in the middle of something emotionally tough, and they've got this deductible out of pocket, which are going up and up and up. And so these are going to address both of those. Okay. High cost claims. Most of you on this call, if you've been self-funded, you felt the effects of it. Whether you were fully insured at the time before you went self-funded. When that renewal comes and they cite large claims, that's the biggest determinator of whether you've got leverage to get those financials in better situation than what you're getting in that renewal. So that's what we're going to deal with. It's the biggest driver, and it only takes 1 claim, 2 claims. That's all it takes. All right. That would completely change the financial performance of your company. Just arbitrary out of the blue. Okay. This isn't theory. It's math. Okay. When an underwriter or an actuary comes up with rates, they know that 1% of your members are going to drive 28% of your claims. All right. And remember, a member is not just the employee, it's those dependents that are on your plan as well. 1%, almost a third of your costs. All right. So 200-person group, you've probably got 350 to 400 members on your plan. So 1% is going to be about 4 of those individuals that could have a claim going to drive a third of your costs. Okay. So just be aware of that. Self-funding gives employers control, okay? But the risk gets concentrated onto your individual plan. That's why a lot of people are going to these captive and stuff. This is not a captive. This is not an association. This isn't pooling together with other companies. When a company does these 4 tactics, they want to stand on their own because they're doing things that others aren't, and the results are pretty strong, okay? But how do you build, as a self-funded program, how do you build a health plan that protects the organization from these catastrophic claims, but doesn't hurt employees, right? That's what we're going to do. That's going to be our goal. I'm going to walk you through these 4 tactics, but before I do, I'm going to be proactive. And probably one of the first questions I get when I go over these is it legal? So I want to touch on that right away. It is legal. When you go self-funded, you fall under the federal law. That federal law is ERISA, okay? You, the employer, are the fiduciary for that ERISA program. You, the fiduciary, has top number 1 duty, and that is to act in the best interest of the member, okay? I can't emphasize that enough. That is the foundation. Anything I talk about today is fully compliant, and it has that foundation in mind when these were created, okay? So our role as stewards of your benefit plan, so think about that. When you send premiums in, we don't keep what's unused. It's a self-funded program. So whatever we keep or save stays with you and your employee. So we need to be great students of your benefit dollar. Okay. So with that, we don't deny legitimate claims. We don't reduce benefits. All right. Instead, we design plans that ensure claims are paid by the right payer, in the right order, and in the best financial interest of both the employee and the employer. That's kind of our mission. All right. When you do that properly, it's pretty powerful. It's pretty powerful. Two things are going to happen. The employee is going to be much more secure. They're going to have less out of pocket when they have that unfortunate situation to be a large claimant. They can deal with getting well instead of having to worry about how are we going to pay for this high deductible and out of pocket charges. That's number one. The other is the risk to the group plan, to the employer plan, is going to be greatly reduced. So that's the two outcomes of these four tactics. Okay. So with that in mind, let's talk about the first one. And it's kind of counterintuitive in the fact that sometimes if an employee, a high cost employee, many times it's better if they terminate from the major medical program. That's in the best interest of the employee and the employer. Wait, how would that be? I need this insurance, but you're saying it may be in the best interest to terminate from the major medical plan. I'm not saying terminate from the group benefit program. I'm saying terminate from the major medical. All right, here's how it works. When an employee is facing a high cost medical event, let's say $25,000 or $50,000, okay, you're not going to get them all, right? Those accidents are going to happen. There's nothing you can do about it, but they've got that major medical in place. But they know they're going to have a big event, all right? They then qualify to transition to our affordable care plan option, all right? It's one of the options within your group plan, right? It's entirely voluntary, totally up to the employee, what is best for he or she and their family, okay? It's explained to them and they make the decision. But here's why the vast majority of the time they do it. Because the Affordable Care Plan has no copays, has no deductible, has no out-of-pocket maximums. Okay, it's fully covered, and there's no cost. There's no more payroll deductions that are going to come out. As a matter of fact, many times we can set it up to where whatever payroll deductions they've paid up through the year can be refunded to them given their current situation. So in other words, the employee is in a much better financial position, and that risk is transferred from the employer group health plan. So again, we're in that win-win situation, all right? By removing that high-cost claimant, your benefits now become a right fit coverage strategy. Right fit coverage strategy instead of a one-size-fits-all strategy, all right? It's super powerful, all right? But coverage is optimized, all right? This protects the employer plan, protects the employer, all right? It protects the employee from those out-of-pocket costs, right? Remember, 1% of members are driving a third of your cost. If you can reduce your members, you're reducing your risk. But I can't emphasize this enough. The strategy is plan, design, flexibility becomes a financial strategy. Plan, design, flexibility. All right. It's not just a benefit decision. It's a strategy. All right. I'm going to give you an example. We had a group that was facing a kidney dialysis, and the plan was blowing up. It was a self-funded deal. They got the renewal. The reinsurance carrier was going to give them a $750,000 laser at renewal on that dialysis. That means, if you're not familiar, the employer plan was responsible for the first $750,000 of that claim, whereas before they had $100,000 responsibility on everybody else. So this was really going to hurt them. They went to us. We incorporated the ACP. What was $58,000 a month claim cost after the PPO discount became a $15,000 claim, including the surgery that first year because of the ACP. Okay. Another example just happened at the end of January, just a month ago. We had a pharmacy call into the administrator for an expensive claim. I say administrator, the TPA. They called in. This was going to be expensive, so it would enable them to transition to ACP if they wanted. So the third-party administrator reached out to the employee directly, explained You can stay in the major medical. Here's your out-of-pockets, or you can transition to the Affordable Care Plan. Here's the benefits of that. They did transition. So what's going to happen? That claim is not going to hit the employer plan. It's going to be good for employees, good for the employer itself. So super powerful. The second tactic, our medical reimbursement program, it actually helps things that are in plain sight. All right. How many times do you know that an employee has access to their spouse's plan, and maybe they're covered on he and the spouse are covered on your plan, and vice versa? There's double risk, the people on here, and it's not efficient. Okay. Even when you're double coverage, you typically don't get 100% of your coverage. Other is maybe you've got a spouse that's on Medicare with Part A and Part B and is on your group plan. What we do in that situation is we kind of right size it. We make both of those programs better. We have the spouse, when the spouse declines the major medical and they go on to the spouse's plan, we can add this MRP program. And what it does is it will reimburse the employee for their cost and their families out-of-pocket co-pays, deductibles for in-network providers, reimburses it 100%. And there is no cost to this program, to the medical reimbursement program. It really works out well. The employee enrolls, they're going to have less out-of-pocket. Employee pays zero for premium. The employer plan benefits by reduced claim liability, reduced reinsurance premiums, and it reduces the exposure to catastrophic claims. Okay, I can't emphasize it enough. When you lower the bodies on your plan, you lower the exposure to high-cost claimants. Okay, even better, we all know that some of the spouses have a plan that's kind of protective. It'll say, there's a penalty, there's a surcharge if your spouse has access at their work and they come onto our plan. It's either prohibited or there is a surcharge. And we have language in that ERISA plan that takes care of that and removes that barrier. So really wonderful. So just remember, small number of members driving the cost. This reduces exposure to you, to the employer plan. That's number two. Number three, our third plan is our Maxi plan. What that is, this is for Medicare folks that have just Part A. Happens a lot. You turn age 65, Medicare, you get automatically. There's no cost for it. So they have Medicare Part A. Doesn't matter. They want to stay on the group plan. The coverage is better. You don't have to worry about that donut hole and all that kind of stuff. What we can do is we can change Medicare. With the Maxi plan, we change Medicare to where it becomes primary. And this plan will reimburse their physician charges, their outpatient charges, and their prescription drug costs. Okay. There's also a $2,000 inpatient benefit. Why limit it to $2,000? Because Medicare is going to be primary, and the inpatient deductible, I think, is like $1,728, somewhere around there. It's less than that $2,000. So essentially, the employee has 100% coverage. So super powerful. You reposition Medicare as primary, and then we wrap around that. All right. But just think about the transition of that high cost risk. This is a real transfer of risk from your program to Medicare that those people have qualified for and they're entitled to. So that's the third one. The fourth one involves Medicaid. A lot of times you have an employee who is eligible for Medicaid benefits. Okay, that's a program maybe due to disability that they're entitled for, but they stay on the group plan. And they do it for primarily two reasons. The number one reason is the provider network. They have a provider that they trust, but they're not a they don't accept Medicaid. Okay, they're not a Medicaid provider. So what this plan does is transitions Medicaid to primary, and then it's a reimbursement around that. So it reimburses all PPO providers 100%. So it expands their access to the full PPO that all employees are covered by. They don't just go to a Medicaid accepting physician. It expands it. It pays 100% of in-network PPO. If they want to go out of the network, it'll cover reasonable and customary charges if there's a provider that's not in the full PPO network. It'll also cover outpatient charges and prescription drugs. So that's really going to be their only out-of-pocket. So again, you're talking about 100% benefit and severely transferring risk from your group plan over to Medicare, who is now primary. Okay, employee gets better access. Employee gets better coverage by not having deductibles and copayment. So the risk exposure is greatly reduced. So that's a summary of these four. Overall, I can tell you this has helped some drowning employers, cities, union programs. I'll give you an example, a local pipe fitter, plumber and pipe fitter union. They came to us not as a client originally. They were $600,000 in the hole on their self-funded program. Within 3 years, they were $1.5 million to the good. Super powerful. So know the outcome. I will tell you, think about what your medical cost is per employee. What's your total medical divided by the number of people covered. On average, it's going to be about $16,000. Our clients with these four tactics, their average cost per employee is $9,000, just above $9,000 versus over $16,000 for other clients. So it's super powerful. You don't want to pool in a captive. You want to be on your own with this structure because it's just wonderful. But why does it matter? All right, let's come back to the big picture. Self-funded programs, the claims are not driven by your average claims, your average, pharmacy costs. It's driven by catastrophic claims. Right? 5% of your members are going to drive over half of your cost. Can't emphasize it enough. High cost claims are your issue. You control those. You control your medical spend. Period. All right. A single claimant could be $1 million in 1 year. Okay. Now you'll say to me, yeah, that's why we have individual stop loss. That's a protection. And that's right. You'll have protection up to, let's say, $100,000. But when you have $1 million claim at that renewal, maybe you have a contract that doesn't have lasers. Okay. You're going to get socked on that premium. You're going to get the maximum increase available. Maybe it's 65, 75%. So there's no protection from that renewal action unless you're proactive with your strategy, unless you're strategic with your plan options. Okay. And that's what this does. So if you want predictable renewals, stable budgets, long-term sustainability, you got to manage the risk at the plan design level. Okay, I'm going to say it again. You have to manage your risk at the plan design level. And you don't do it after you have the large claim. Okay, you do it proactively. There's some other solutions out there. You think of FedLogic is one. The Samaritan Fund is another. Those are better than having no strategy. They're a way to to transition some high cost claimants, not as in depth, and not on a daily basis. A lot of those will review it at renewal time, or for FedLogic, they need the employee to reach out. The employee has to remember, oh, I got this benefit. I have a preemie baby. I need to reach out. This is proactive. It's hand-holding the member at the time of claim. And as a matter of fact, that's going to be my bonus fifth strategy is being proactive. We don't use AI and we don't use auto adjudication. When a claim of $1,000 or more comes in, it is reviewed by an underwriter. Okay. If it's 10,000 or more, it has two more sets of eyes on it. So we really want to intervene. We want to do what's best for the medical plan. We want to do what's best for the employee because the benefits are so wonderful. It is truly a win-win situation. So before I take some questions in closing, self-funded plans are going to give you control. Okay. But control only creates value when you are strategic with it. Okay. These four tactics cover that base for you. Right. The ACP, the MRP, and the Maxi Plan 1 and 2. All right. They accomplish two things. They're going to give your members, your employees, better benefits, especially at the time that they need it most. And number two, you're going to mitigate those large costs from your self-funded medical program. So that's the four strategies. Let's see what we got as far as questions. Isn't it illegal to put people on the Affordable Care Act exchange, the ACA exchange? Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, it's illegal to incent people to go to Medicare, okay, unless it's structured properly within the federal law of ERISA. This is. So I encourage you to get more details, but you're absolutely right. If an employer just wants to pay the premium and have that person go to the ACA exchange, they're risking the preferred tax benefit for their whole group plan. Big risk. Right? Good question. Pricing. Pricing is interesting. We're doing something a little different starting in 2026. For groups over 500, it's a big disruption to change a consultant, to change an insurance company, to change an administrator. So what we can do is for 500 and above covered members, we can wrap these 4 strategies around your existing self-funded program. Okay, we don't change a thing, but we put in these same practices. Under 500, the value is we bring this to the table. This is our solution. Okay, it's part of our broker services and our TPA services. All right, so the pricing is in there. If you just wrap around it, 500 plus, it's some combination of per employee per month charge and a % of savings up to a certain dollar amount. So we put our money where our mouth is. So that's pricing. Can an employee come back onto the main company plan once they've gone to one of these other options? Absolutely. Remember, we do things that are in the best financial interest of the employee and the employer. So someone had heart stents put in, they had their rehab, no further treatment other than a cardiac visit in 6 months. It's going to be in the best financial interest for them to come back onto the major medical program. So that will qualify them to transition back, and that can be done on a monthly basis. This isn't a wait until renewal. Every month, we are keeping your plan and your employees financially efficient. It's just really wonderful. Okay. Why have I not heard of this before? Great question. I'll be honest with you. This has been done for a little over 10 years. I heard about it about 4 years ago. All right. Shame on me. I didn't hear about it. I wouldn't have thought anything like this. My initial reaction was, it's not legal. It's discriminatory. I've talked to you about this. I've learned. But why have you not heard of it before? Most people on this live event, you pretty much rely on your broker to guide you. Here's the options. What can we do? And I'll tell you, I've heard a broker say it is what it is. Nothing more infuriating. Okay. I was also programmed, being 25 years in this industry, that the time to go self-funded is not when you're in the middle of claims. Okay. That's industry talk. Okay. This changes all that. Reason you haven't heard it, small brokers aren't going to have the expertise to have an ERISA attorney understand ERISA, develop a contract that's going to protect the employer, protect the employers like we have. If you're with a large national brokerage firm, their number one priority is protecting their own liability. So they have their approved vendors, approved third-party administrators. You're not going to see a lot of creativity from your large national brokers. Even if your local female, male friend that you know and trust, even if they want to, they can't. So many reasons for it. There's other reasons too, but you're hearing about it now. I strongly suggest if you've got a renewal in July, learn about it now. There's going to be questions. As a matter of fact, that's pretty much all I have for you today. But if you've had that crazy renewal, if you've had fluctuations in your cost, if you've had to keep driving up deductibles for employees, increasing their cost share, this is a win-win situation. Okay, it's going to take care of the unexpected increase. High cost claims are going to be, no longer a surprise. Put these in. It's not, again, you put this in, you're going to see results within 90 days. You're going to see results at the time of the renewal because our partners know what we do and they're going to give you credit for exactly what we're talking about. But there's probably much more questions. On my LinkedIn profile is my phone number and my email. Direct message me if you want to learn more, set up a virtual or a live meeting. Happy to do so. Thank you for your time today. I really wish you the best of luck as you protect your employees and protect your business. Thank you.